I've got a great game and a great story in store for you today. The game is a masterpiece in how to slowly dominate your opponent. Just push him off the board, leaving him there wondering, where did I make a mistake? Maybe you can pick up a few things there. And the story that surrounds it is about cheating, envy, and the possible dark side of free speech on the internet. And then there's a really nice plot twist in the end. Well, welcome to Yellow Rabbit Chess. I hope this video finds you all doing well. Let's just hop right in and see the game, right? It's played in the beginning of March 2021, and GothamsChess, a young American international master based in New York, is live streaming. That means he's playing chess online with thousands of his fans watching and cheering, and well, all of a sudden he's challenged by this Indonesian player called Dewa Kipas. They play 10-minute games. Each player has 10 minutes for the entire game. It's called a rapid, and GothamsChess, who's also known as Levi Rosman, goes d4. And Dewa Kipas answers knight to f6, knight f3, and then e6. Pretty fair moves. Yet here already a lot of GothamsChess's fans are shouting, he's a cheater, Black's a cheater. Maybe you're wondering, how can he be a cheater? He made two really obvious moves. And that's because when you look at his rating progress, because Dewa Kipas has played a lot of games before this, when you look at his rating progress, it looks like this. And that is not a healthy curve. Rating progress should be up and down, just like life. You lose some, you win some. But this is, well, that raises sort of the first suspicion that this may be a cheater. We'll get back to other signs of cheating, but that's the first one. I'll show you my rating progress. Looks like this. You see? Up and down. Anyway, GothamsChess still decides to give the man a chance. Or the woman, we don't know. He goes g3, g6, and we have soon opposite side fianchettoed bishops. It's the Indian game, knight's variation. It's a really nice position with black, actually, which I recommend. Develop the black knight, go fianchetto your bishop, and then push a pawn. We'll see which one. White castles, and then which pawn would you choose here? If you were to advance a pawn? Well, it's a battle for the center, and you might as well use one of your C or F pawns to battle for the center. If you can trade that for a center pawn, it's always good. So Gotham plays C3, which is a little passive. He could have chosen to develop his bishop to F4, but C3, I guess it's okay. So bishop e7 from Dewa Kipas, and then b3, seemingly to develop the bishop here and support, for the center. We'll see that this may be the first little step towards, being dominated that white takes. Dewa Kipas, that's his alias on the internet. We'll learn his real name, but Dewa Kipas is actually Indonesian, and it means the Ventilator God, God of fans or something. And well, it's a little ironic. I think if GothamsChess had known that he would be literally spiraling around the ceiling in a couple of moves, he may not have chosen this opponent. But we'll see what happens. Gotham goes bishop to b2, covering the d4 pawn. And he takes and takes, and black develops a knight. Gotham goes e3. And here I think black wonders what to do with this white squared. I want to play d5. I want to get a stronghold here with a couple of pieces. So I don't want this bishop to stare right into my own pawn. So where do you place it? On a6. Rook has to move, and now d5, taking good control of the center. Gotham decides to invite an exchange of bishops, obviously because he doesn't like the dark bishop to be alone on this diagonal, which is pretty meaningful as well. And then he takes, and then he takes with the king. And he continues moving the king, actually. I don't know, maybe he's trying to convince himself that this new house is sort of a king's new palace, right? But you know, a rule of thumb is that once you've moved one of your pawns here in front of the king, it's always weakening his new home. And you'll try to notice in what way white has weakened his king. If you look at these squares, they are no longer covered by pawns. Just keep that in mind. Black keeps that in mind. He's not attacking them right away, but it'll come. For now, he goes for the open file, and that's a very sound way to pursue your dreams. Where do I place a rook? Is there an open file? There is, so that's where I'm going to go. A3, obviously afraid of the dark knight coming to B4. So it comes to A5 instead, sort of threatening that pawn, which is already covered by the queen. But Gotham decides, I want to activate my queen, still take care of this. Maybe sometime create something along the B1, H7 diagonal. Maybe you should just take 5 seconds or pause the video if you want more and see what's the plan here. What is Black's plan? And the small hint is, again, it's moving a pawn. There you go, F5. So you think that the attack is coming over here, rook and knight, but then as you watch this door, burglar comes in the window. Gotham thinks, okay, I gotta keep on developing my my pieces. Maybe that'll take some pressure off the B3, so I don't have to use the queen to guard that little pawn. That is not a proper job for a queen, right? But Black just keeps on throwing these pawns, and that's, you know, it's sort of like an existentialistic time in Black's life. I mean, when is it okay just to advance pawns in front of your king, and when is it not? Well, I think it's safe to say that here it's okay because, you know, white hasn't really got that much to attack with over at the king side, whereas Black's defenders are pretty ready to take that task. So rook to B1 sounds a little too passive there, wanting to guard the bishop if the knight should come here, but frankly, I don't really understand that move, and maybe neither does Black, so he just ignores it and continues. Gotham goes to E5 with his knight, seemingly a very nice outpost for the knight. It has lots of squares there that it'll cover, but it doesn't really get to play that part. We'll see how it goes, because now it's obvious that Black can win a pawn. The exchange here forces the white queen to take, and now the C4 square is ready. And here we have the second example of why Black may be cheating. And if you think cheating, how should he be doing that? Well, cheating in online chess is huge. And it's really simple, actually. You just play the game online, and next to you, you have a laptop with a powerful chess engine, and you just take a few seconds and you put in your opponent's move in that chess engine, you get out the reply, and you make that move on your own board. The downside of that, of course, is that it takes a little time to enter the move and to wait for the computer to have suggested something. And that time is often used to catch cheaters. And we have a good example coming up now, because where does Black move the knight? He can't go there, he can't go there, and can't go there. The only place that is suitable for the knight where he won't get taken is on A5. So a human being would just react pretty quickly and just go there to a5. But black takes 10 seconds. That may not sound like a lot when you have 10 minutes for the game, but black has used almost exactly 10 seconds on every move from the beginning till now, and that's where GothamChess becomes suspicious again. Because why not just move it instantly? Why wait? Is that because you wait for something? You wait for the chess engine to suggest, okay, that's fair enough, there's no sacrifice. Oh, sorry, what if, would it be cool to take the pawn? Well, I don't know, but if the computer says okay, then I'll do it, of course. So that's a second suspicion. We have his rating progress, and we have the time he takes to complete his moves. So Gotham goes h3, which is a bold move, obviously trying to relieve some pressure here, maybe create some counterplay in this file, but it also weakens the king. That's always, you know, you have to weigh out that little dilemma. So bishop d6, obviously looking at that knight, thinking, I don't want you to be there with all those squares to cover. So Gotham takes on g4, black takes the knight. White takes back, and now we have a position where it makes sense that these squares are really, really weakened. King has 2 out of 3 pillars left of his palace, but he's got a huge hole in his wall there, ready for intruders. Well, White says, I don't care, I'm gonna mate you in one move if you don't see this, and you know, threats of mate in one are always useful because the opponent has to do something. And black plays rook c7 to cover the threat. White tries to activate his bishop, and well, I don't know if it's activated, it's centralized, but it looks like a big pawn there, doesn't it? Doesn't really have this long diagonal that bishops would like to. There's the pawn, there's the pawn, there's the pawn. The only long diagonal it has is back home. So where do you want to put the queen? Where do you want to put the black queen? If I told you now is the time to activate your queen, then where would you put it? Well, queen to g5. Looking at these squares in a couple of moves, saying this is my domain. This is where I'm going to launch the attack. Rook b to c1. Obviously, if black takes, there's mate. So he can't do that. And there's still the threat, you know, of me taking you. The rooks are staring at each other. And the white rook is slightly better here because, oh sorry, he can take the black rook, but the black rook can't take the white one. So what do? What is the only piece in black's army that is not part of the game right now? Yep, the knight that we put into a5, it goes back to c4. Taking part. I don't know, queen e2, trying to Gotham call it cocooning. Just trying to make a fortress. Queen f5, again looking at these weak white squares. You can attack squares, you know, you don't have to attack pieces. You can attack squares, and that's what the queen is doing there. So white is looking for some counterplay. Where does he find it? It's completely blocked here on the queen side, right? He's only got one pawn, and it's even threatened. So the only reasonable counterplay is rook h6. Looking at this, trying to take off some pressure from the f-file by exchanging at least rooks, maybe forcing the black queen away. But black plays queen e4 check. King has to go back to g1 and now rook to f5. Saying this line is mine and this line could be mine as well. Because if you move here, and I'll move there. And we have lots of threats with mate down there. So Gotham says, okay, fair enough. We'll change file. So this is where things go wild. Black thinks for 10-15 seconds, and then he goes knight takes e5. And these rooks once again staring at each other. The black rook says, go ahead and take me. I don't need my knight anymore. Take me. And the white rook goes, there's no such thing as a free rook. But can he? Does he have a choice? Well, I'll tell you, Gotham decides to take the rook, but let's just see what would have happened had you played, for instance, bishop takes e5. Black would have taken the white rook. He would have had to block with the queen, rook h5, queen takes c1, and queen h1 is mate. So this move, rook takes c7, is forced. And now, another 10-15 seconds of thought. Knight to f3 check. And let's just do a recap of the position here. Black is a rook down. He has a powerful check there on f3, but is it enough? Let's see. If you think, I don't have to take that with the queen, that would be a little too aggressive. Maybe I could just dodge the attack and just move my king. Well, you could move it to d2. Then black would go bishop e1 check, king g1, and king g2 mate. Then you can go to f1. Black would go queen b1 with a short mate, and you can go king h1. That would be met with rook h5 check and a very soon mate. And then obviously that's mate. So in a couple of moves. So the only move that white has left is actually to take it with the queen. And now maybe you're thinking, oh, I would love to take back that queen because then the position would be almost equal if I took it with a pawn. But let's see what happens. Rook c8 check, king g7, and now a nasty discovered check, and black is losing. So you'll have to think of something else than capturing the queen. Same thing if you take it with the queen. You go rook c8, and you have a discovered check, and the queen falls. So what is there left to do? You're a rook down, and you have only one move actually as black. And that is, did you find it? Queen b1 check. King goes to g2, and now you take the queen. And now you force the king out on a little adventure from which he will never return. And he probably knows that there. Kings on h3, they know that unless it's the end game, it's the end of the game to them. Because he gets a check in the back from the black queen to h1. And here, Gotham resigns. He knows what's coming. King g4, h5 mate. By a pawn. Pawn's the soul of chess. Even more humiliating to be mated by a pawn, right? So that's the game. I guess the takeaway is that you shouldn't be afraid to attack on the opposite side of where all the attention is. We were on the queen side, and the attack was on the king side in the end. And maybe also that passive moves can kill you. b3, bishop b2, rook b1, regrouping your forces down here while the pawns were just rolling out that here. That can be fatal. So I'll tell you what happened after the game, because GothamChess decides to report the opponent, Dewa Kipas. He flags him. That means he tells chess.com, the site where they are playing, that this is a potential cheater. Please, could you investigate? And that is basically, you know, we've been through two of the things, a little too smooth rating progress, the 10-second move, the 10-second thinking time between all the moves, and then some moves that are almost too good to be true, like knight takes e5, followed by knight f3 check. That is possible, of course, if you're really good, but it's also good to be investigated, and that's what chess.com does. And the scenario actually is not at all unique. Online cheating, whether or not it happened here, is massive. In February alone, chess.com reviewed 261 million games, and on the basis of that investigation, they closed 30,000 accounts. And chess.com has around 4 million active users, so that's approximately 1% of all users. I don't know if that's a high crime rate compared to, you know, real life, but this is when the story goes completely banana. Because when chess.com decides to block Dewa's account, GothamChess and his girlfriend Lucy receive death threats from wild Indonesian players who think that, you know, Dewa Kipas is a grandmaster and Gotham is just sorry that he lost. So we'll go back to that story. I just wanted to say that this is an interesting occasion actually to look into the world of how you spot cheating. Because basically how that works is that chess.com has a system, a statistical model that would sort of evaluate the probability of a human player matching an engine's top choice, like just constantly. Maybe even surpassing the confirmed clean play of some of the greatest players, human players on Earth. And they do that pretty well, at least according to these 4 different grandmasters who reviewed it. So chess.com decides to close the account, hordes of attacks on GothamChess, and he has to block the entire Southeast Asia region from viewing his YouTube content. And he's also taking a break from social media. Among the more sober comments is the objection that behind Dewa's account is an old Indonesian master called Dadang Supur. Actually, it's his son Ali Akbar who steps forward on social media and tries to defend his father. He explains that actually on one of Indonesia's most favorite YouTube channels, Deddy Corbuzier. He's not a nobody. He has 15 million subscribers. And Dadang Supur's son explains that his dad, who's not really, he's never played online chess before. And he just picked it up. There, that would explain his rating progress. Yeah, so what would you have done if you were the interviewer there? And here's a son saying, my dad didn't cheat. He's just a great chess player. And then there's chess.com and an entire American nation of Gotham's fans claiming this game had all the evidence of cheating that we need. You ask him to play a game, right? You ask Irene Sukundar, who is one of Indonesia's top female players, to play him a match. And that will once and for all decide if he's able to play, you know, they decide to play 3 games, and if he's able to, say, like, win one of them or draw at least a couple, then he might have the same rating as she is. She is around 2,400, approximately the same as Dewa Kipas has on chess.com. So this match, which was broadcasted a couple of weeks ago, peaked at 1.2 million spectators on YouTube. That is about 10 times the most watched live stream chess event in history, including the World Championship. I don't know what that tells us about that story, that it's huge, that, you know, an argument over did you cheat? No, I did not. Yes, you did. Evolves into a battle of nations, US versus Indonesia. And, you know, even Tech Magazine, Wired.com posted a story about this. So how does it go? Can he beat her? He cannot. That is a very clear answer to that question. I watched the first game in which he defends with the Caro-Kann, and he just blunders pieces like that. And after 3 games, Chess.com evaluated his rating to around 1100. Still, he made around $7,000 on that match, just to accept it, Dewa Kipas. Well, so Irene Sukandar just turns off the Ventilator God. And yet, I promised you a plot twist. But this is not just a story about an old man playing chess, cheating, and then making $7,000 out of the blue. Because it turns out that the parties involved actually settled the matter themselves. Over Messenger, privately, without spectators. Don't debate when people is watching and listening. So Levy, GothamChess, apologized for being maybe a bit too rude. Ali, Dewa Kipas' son, apologized on behalf of all the Indonesian who made threats at GothamChess and his girlfriend. So I guess that's just the power of conversation. One-on-one, no crowds, just the persons involved discussing quietly. I think that's the human takeaway of this story, that that's possible. And then, of course, there's the dark side of free speech and what that could lead to. And as we all know, it takes only a spark to set on a fire, right? So let's be nice in the chat. And to give you one last picture to leave with, it turns out that Dewa Kipas, he's here, he's actually quite happy that his account was closed. Why is that? Because now he won't have to play online chess anymore to keep climbing the rating ladder. Is that familiar? Now he has time to do something else as well. So, things in news stories are not always as bad as they seem. This is Yellow Rabbit Chess. I'm Morten Runge. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, you are amazing. Subscribe if you want more, or suggest if you want something else. Like me playing, commenting live blitz games. I'm around 2,000. Or if you want more of these stories that has stories inside the games, or if you want opening tactics, anything's possible. I'll see you in the next video. And as always, take care.